Hello and welcome. You're watching News Central Television. I am Judith TV. It's time for News Now, and these are the top stories at this hour. President Tinubu sends 2025-2027 MTEF to National Assembly for approval. DSS releases former Ogun State governorship candidate Ladi Adebutu. Somaliland's Electoral Commission declares opposition leader Abdullahi as winner. Details shortly. Let's begin by telling you that President Bola Tinubu on Tuesday forwarded the Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and the Fiscal Strategy Paper to the National Assembly for consideration and approval. Tinubu is also seeking the Senate and House of Representatives approval for a fresh $2.2 billion US loan. The president's request was contained in letters read on the floor of both chambers of the National Assembly on Tuesday. On 14th November, the federal government proposed a total expenditure of 47.9 trillion naira for the 2025 budget. Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Bagudu, announced that the Federal Executive Council had also approved the MTEF for 2025 to 2027. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has praised the establishment of the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty, an initiative championed by Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Speaking on Monday at the opening session of the 19th G20 Leaders Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Tinubu described the alliance as a pivotal step in addressing one of the world's most pressing challenges. Now, drawing parallels between the initiative and one of the 8 priority areas he outlined during his inauguration 18 months ago, Tinubu reiterated Nigeria's commitment to adopting international best practices to drive its economic development. He highlighted Nigeria's endorsement of the alliance as a significant move towards combating hunger and poverty, leveraging global cooperation and resources to strengthening domestic strategies. Away from that, President Bola Tinubu has announced a strategic restructuring of his media and communications team, appointing 3 special advisors to jointly serve as government spokesperson. The newly established arrangement includes the Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, the Special Advisor on Media and Public Communications, Sunday Dare, and the Special Advisor on Policy Communication, Daniel Bala. Now, the president emphasized that the initiative is designed to ensure effective and consistent communication of government policies, decisions, and engagements. Now, this development was confirmed in a State House statement issued by Onanuga, who noted that the restructuring underscores President Tinubu's commitment to a streamlined and responsive communication strategy for his administration. So many people to speak to the people. The chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele, has reiterated that the proposed tax reform bills currently before the National Assembly are not intended to undermine any particular region of the country, but to establish a tax system that benefits all citizens. Oyedele made this known during an interactive session with lawmakers over the proposed tax reform bills, saying that the proposed legislation seeks to enhance efficiency and increase revenue for states where goods and services are consumed. In his remarks, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, says that the Parliament is yet to take a definitive stance on the proposed legislation, but will ensure it undergoes thorough scrutiny in the interest of Nigerians.
Is Section 40 of the Value Added Tax Act today. It says that when we collect VAT, the federal government should take 15%, the state should take 50%, and local government should take 35%. The amount that is to the credit of states and local government should be shared as follows: 20% based on derivation, which is where you got the VAT from. Give them 20% of the VAT. The remaining 80%, 50% is shared on equal basis and then 30% is shared based on population. That's what we do today. That method of sharing VAT has problems.
The House has not taken any definitive position on these bills. Our role is to scrutinize them thoroughly, ensuring they align with the best interests of our constituents and the nation at large. We owe this duty to Nigeria.
And in honor duty to Nigeria, the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has announced a strategic restructuring of his media and communications team, appointing 3 special advisors to jointly serve as government spokesperson. Plenty of people to talk to the people, so we want to have a discussion about this. Joining us to do this, to give us a bit of insight and answer some of the pressing issues, or whether or not you need 3 more special advisors when it comes to speaking to the people. We have public affairs analyst Francis Chilaka. Francis, many thanks for joining us. We appreciate you for doing this with us. I mean, let's get started. I'm going to ask you, just how do you perceive the appointment of 3 spokespersons in terms of enhancing, or in this case, diluting the effectiveness of the president's communication strategy?
Well, I don't think it is all about enhancing. I think it's more about propaganda. The president is setting up a propaganda machinery because if you look at the names of those persons, you know that these are people who are very good at handling propaganda. So Mr. President is indirectly setting up a propaganda machinery to be able to convince the gullible Nigerians about what he is doing and what he is not doing.
Now, if I recall, months back, he fired, I take that back, we saw the resignation of Ngelale Ajuri, who resigned, citing family issues and saying that he had to attend to pressing family issues at the time and could not continue with his position. And now we're seeing 3 new appointments, special advisors, and altogether the number is growing, right? So one has to think about the complexities of managing multiple spokespersons. I mean, what measures should be taken to ensure that the public receives clear, unified messages from the president's office? I mean, how many spokespersons do you need to address the people?
Well, first and foremost, Mr. President has about 13, if I'm right, spokesperson or media persons. And what we found out over time is that they're all attacking people from different points and different angles. Take, for instance, the speech by our former president, Olusegun Obasanjo. That came out and attacked him. And then Analoga came out as well and attacked him. So you find out that they're more like attack dogs than really spokesmen for Mr. President. I think that there are too many people. Ordinarily, you should have one man who speaks on behalf of the president. But when you have too many people speaking on behalf of the president, it is more like creating confusion because we don't know who to follow and who not to follow. So I think Mr. President needs to, streamline his media team and let there be one person that speaks on behalf of Mr. President. Just like you had Ngelale Ajuri, who was a spokesman for the president. So when he speaks, we know that, this is his responsibility. But as it is now, 3 people speaking on the same issue, obviously divergent views, and the fact that, we wouldn't really know who is communicating the truth and who is not.
Speaking of truth, this seems to be criticism of this government communication. Everyone we've spoken to, every circular and every op-ed that we've seen about this appointment, it's been speaking about them, whether or not they are speaking the truth or managing, whether or not they are trying to, manage a certain narrative or, in your words, propaganda. I mean, how then will the appointment of 3 spokespersons contribute to restoring, public trust in the president's administration?
The only thing that will, that will bring back the trust the people have lost from this government is when the livelihood of the people improves. No matter if you like appoint 1,000 people to speak on your behalf, as long as those appointments do not add value to the present lifestyle of the Nigerian people. There is hunger in the land. We all know that. There is starvation in the land. We all know that. we hear that 18,000 students or children are out of school. People are finding it difficult to access medical attention. You know, I mean, electricity is out of the reach of the people. Petrol is out of the reach of the people. So no matter what anybody says, as long as people are finding it difficult to have food on their table, as long as insecurity prevails, there is no amount of speaking, there is no amount of grammar, there is no amount of media team that can restore the lost hope the people have for this government.
And finally, I have to ask, right, because we've seen this in the past before, and this is when, at the time it was Ngalale Ajuri and Bayo Nanuga who were representing from one end to the other. And we saw a case of a breakdown in communication where one person is putting out a certain statement, another is putting out a certain statement. Now with the presence of multiple spokespersons, one has to ask, you know, how would it affect the relationship between, you know, the presidency and the media? Will it also create confusion or create opportunities for better media engagement like we see in the U.S., where we see the U.S. Secretary of State come out to consistently address the media?
Well, it's not going to be any different. What you're going to have is more of confusion because if you're listening to the way Bayo Nanuga talks, he talks down on Nigerians. Bwala, we know, has just been appointed, and we know that Bwala is one of those who criticized this president before the campaign. So I'm wondering what Bwala is really going to start telling Nigerians about this president. How is he going to convince the people he had told so many things about this president? How is he going to convince them to begin to listen to this government? So a lot needs to be done. The president needs to sit up and have one person that communicates whatever it is he wants to communicate. You will, in the coming days, find out that there's going to be a serious war in the presidency because everybody wants to outshine the other, and psychophancy will reign supreme.
Psychophancy will reign supreme. That's those are words which should be emboldened in gold. Francis Chilaka, many thanks for doing this. We also appreciate you for coming on. Francis Chilaka is a public affairs analyst, and he joined us to give a bit of insight to the recent appointment by President Tinubu. Now, the Nigeria's Minister of Budget and Economic Planning has called for the acquisition of relevant data that will support the growth and development of the continent. Now, this was during the commemoration of African Statistics Day held in Abuja, the nation's capital. Our correspondent Joshua Imarayi reports.
It was the commemoration of the 2024 African Statistics Day themed supporting education by modernizing the production of fit-for-purpose statistics. The event, which held in Nigeria's federal capital, Abuja, brought together senior government officials, including the nation's Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, the Statistician General of the Federation, and other statisticians across the nation. Speaking at the event, Nigeria's Minister of Budget and Economic Planning says that inclusive development begins with empowering the continent's population through reliable and comprehensive data.
For Africa to thrive in the 21st century, we must equip our people, particularly our youth, with the skills needed to navigate and contribute to the global economy. Achieving this requires data that is not only comprehensive, but also accurate, timely, and tailored to specific purposes. This is where the modernization of statistical production comes into place.
Also speaking at the event, the Statistician General of Nigeria highlighted the urgent need for innovation and adaptability in the nation's statistical system, adding that traditional methods are no longer sufficient to address modern challenges.
As the coordinator of the statistical system in Nigeria, I am glad that the members of the system are already coming to the realization of the fact that we must innovate, we must adapt, and we must change if we have to remain relevant in providing policymakers and all users with timely, relevant, and reliable statistics.
The UNICEF representative at the event called for significant improvement in data gathering to ensure that it effectively serves its purpose in shaping policies and strategies in education and other sectors.
Unfortunately, education, data governance, and management in Nigeria has room for improvement. The data is not often relevant since some of the important data is not collected. Data is not accurate sometimes because the proper data validation mechanisms are not in place. Data is not complete because not all the schools are providing data requested. Data is not timely as data is not made available when needed. And most importantly, many of the data we collected with tremendous efforts are not used for the decision making.
The celebration of the 2024 African Statistic Day underscores the urgent need to transform statistical system to address Africa's educational and economic challenges. These, they say, will ensure that no one is left behind in the journey towards progress. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
You're watching News Central Television. It's News Now. We go on a short break. When we come back, DSS releases former governorship Ogun State candidate Adebutu. We will tell you more after this break. Stay with us. And you're welcome back. The former governorship candidate of the Ogun State chapter of the People's Democratic Party, Ladi Adebutu, has been released from custody after being invited and interrogated by the Deputy of State Services. His release was confirmed by his media aide, Afolabi Orekoya. The Ogun State Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Kayode Adebayo, had earlier confirmed Adebutu's arrest by the DSS in Abeokuta, the state capital, on Monday. Adebutu, who contested as the PDP's governorship candidate in Ogun State in 2023, was reportedly invited for questioning in connection with alleged disturbances during the local government elections held last Saturday. The Citizens Liberty Committee of the Nigerian Bar Association has successfully secured the release of 6 out of 11 protesters arrested during the #EndBadGovernance protests in Maiduguri. The Maiduguri High Court granted them bail, paving the way for their freedom. News Central's Umaru Kirawa has the report.
The EndBadGovernance protesters had been detained for over 4 months following their alleged demonstration against governance issues in Nigeria. The protesters reportedly displayed the Russian flag and continuously chanted Bamai, meaning we don't want. It was a day of freedom and jubilation for the families of the 6 individuals granted bail at Maiduguri High Court 10.
Godiya nake wa Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ya kamu wannan lokacin. Ina godiya wa Allah ko muna godiya wa gwamnatin da mana wannan abuwa. Magana. Ai kwa TV ne da yake zanga-zanga mazan bargarin.
The Citizens Liberty Committee of the Nigerian Bar Association praised the judiciary's commitment to upholding citizens' rights.
God in his wisdom and the wisdom of the judge, we were able to secure the release of 6 out of the 11 defendants before the court. And the rulings for our bail applications is slated on the 3rd of December, which we are praying the court to grant the remaining 5 accused standing trial in bail so that they will face their trial. One of the disheartening things is this. We cannot continue this as a nation. We cannot keep people for more than 100 days in illegal detentions.
The committee also reiterated its commitment to providing legal support for those fighting for social justice across the country.
One of the defendants, who was unfortunately not released today, is supposed to start his exams in the university. Unfortunately, he has to miss these exams. I called on the governor of Borno State, as a father, as a leader of all of us, to temper justice with mercy, use his commissioner for justice, invoke section 211 of the Constitution, so that this matter in the next adjourning days should be discontinued.
In the meantime, the families of the remaining 5 detainees await the next hearing scheduled for 3rd December 2024, as the case has been adjourned by the judge at Maiduguri High Court 10. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Inspector General of Police Kayode Adebutu has embarked on a working visit to Delta State, renowned for its substantial oil reserves in the Niger Delta. Adebutu's visit to the state includes pivotal events such as the launch of a week-long police public relations officers public communication experts conference in Asaba and the commissioning of 31 operational vehicles donated by Governor Sheriff Oboriwori to bolster the capacities of the police and other security agencies. News Central's Austin Azu brings us more details.
Following his arrival in Delta State, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Gbetoku, proceeded to Government House for a courtesy visit to Governor Sheriff Oboriwori. In his remarks, the IGP commended the governor for his support to the State Police Command and other security agencies, as well as his effective handling of the recent nationwide protests in the state.
Delta State has been a bit tough from the beginning of the year. But with your support, with the energy that you have been committing to provide the security for the state, Delta State today is calm.
We have enjoyed peace in this state. For the past few months, we have enjoyed a lot of peace. But people will not understand. You see, media will be saying different things. And you know, security issues is not everything you bring into the press.
The next stop for the IGP was the inauguration of 31 utility vehicles for the rebranded Operation Delta Sweep Security Task Force, donated by Oboriwori. The IGP noted that the presentation of the vehicles aims to strengthen joint security operations across the state.
The vehicles will be put into immediate use and for the enhancement of the security of Delta State. The people of Delta State with these are guaranteed of peaceful Christmas and peaceful New Year celebration.
I trust that this will boost the morale of members of the task force and motivate them to redouble their efforts to keep the state safe and secure. We shall continue to provide the necessary support to the task force as part of our passionate commitment to enhance peace and security in the state.
Following the vehicle inauguration, the IGP and Governor Oboriwori proceeded to Unity Hall at Government House to officially launch the week-long Police Public Relations Officers Police Communication Experts Conference taking place in Asaba.
It's my hope that the discussion at this conference will bring forth productive results that will benefit both the Nigerian police force and our nation as a whole. With these remarks, I officially declare the 2024 Conference of Police PROs and Communication Experts open.
The IGP later visited the State Police Command, where he inaugurated the police officers' men's and engaged with rank-and-file officers. During the interaction, he urged them to intensify efforts in combating crime and criminality.
My purpose of visiting you today is to let you know that we appreciate what you are doing, encourage you to do more, correct your mistakes where you are making mistakes, and also to hear from you.
We respectfully request your consideration of posting more rank-and-file officers to the command, as this will augment and go well in our crime fighting strategies. This additional support will significantly contribute to the effectiveness of policing in the state.
The visit concluded with the IGP pay homage to the Asaba of Asaba at Ogwoku Ahaba.
The Nigerian police has adopted the community policing strategy to solve the problems of community crime in Nigeria. And the traditional institution is very key to achieving our aims of adopting the community policing strategies.
On the scale, Asaba is a very peaceful community. To that extent, we give kudos to the commanding heights in Asaba to have been able to maintain peace, to make this place very welcoming, very habitable, and of course, Asaba people are hospitable by nature.
The Inspector General's working visit to Delta State continues. In Asaba for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
Several stakeholders, including the Nigerian Navy, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, and the Nigerian Shippers Council, have opposed the proposed legislation aimed at establishing the Nigerian Marine Corps. Now, according to some members of parliament, the proposed Marine Corps is expected to safeguard the nation's maritime infrastructure, but was widely rejected during the recent public hearing held by lawmakers. Our correspondent Idong Joseph has a report.
Lawmakers view the establishment of a Marine Corps as a strategic initiative that will enhance Nigeria's maritime capabilities, protect its waters, and create a secure environment for trade and economic growth. Drawing comparison to the United States Marine Corps, the Russian Naval Infantry, and the South Korean Marine Corps, all specialized forces dedicated to securing their respective maritime interests, lawmakers argued that their vision for the Marine Corps is similar and not meant to create another branch of the military.
Establishing the Nigerian Maritime Corps is not merely a legislative effort, but it should be a strategic initiative based on the idea of the sponsor of the bill to enhance maritime prowess.
The focus on marine intervention is firmly rooted in the legislative agenda of the 10th House of Representatives, particularly in our goals of economic diversification and agricultural development.
However, during the public hearing, stakeholders expressed their concerns about the bill. The Nigerian Navy, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, and the Nigerian Shippers Council all opposed the bill, calling for the strengthening of existing security agencies in the country instead of creating new ones.
This venture, and with due respect, perhaps misadventure, is a recipe for confusion. Most importantly, what threat analysis was carried out, like somebody said? What does this Corps intend to do differently? And like many others have said, why not strengthen already existing agencies, already existing services to do their work?
The bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Marine Corps shouldn't even come up in the first place, honestly, if you ask me.
Some representatives from civil society organizations present at the hearing also opposed the bill, urging the House to reject it during its third reading, arguing that it is unnecessary. The chairman of the committee, while adjourning the hearing, promised that due diligence will be exercised in the legislative process concerning the bill. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
To health matters, at least 25 people have died in a gastroenteritis outbreak, commonly known as cholera, across 3 local government areas in Sokoto State, with 1,160 cases reported. The State Commissioner for Health, Asabe Balarabe, disclosed this while addressing journalists, saying 15 patients are currently receiving treatment for active cases in Sokoto North, Salami, and Kwari local government areas. She explained that the 15 active cases were confirmed through laboratory tests, including culture and sensitivity analysis. According to her, some of the 1,160 people affected by the outbreak, 25 have succumbed to the disease. Very sad story there. Well, you're still watching news now on News Central Television. Coming up, opposition demands annulment of a disputed election in Mozambique. We'll bring you the details after the break. And you're welcome back. The news continues in Somaliland, where the country's Electoral Commission announced on Tuesday that the opposition leader has won the presidency of the breakaway territory. International observers praised the 13 November election, in which about 1.2 million people were registered to vote, as a testament to Somaliland's peaceful democracy. According to the Election Commission Chairman Musa Yusuf Abdurrahman Mohammed Abdullahi, popularly known as Iro, won the election with 63.92% of the vote, significantly ahead of the outgoing president, Musa Bihi, who got 34.81%, and Social Justice Party leader Faisal Warabe, who polled 0.74%. The 68-year-old Abdullahi has outlined a few concrete policy changes, but emphasizes his ambition to serve as a unifying figure. He accuses Bihi of having divided Somaliland during his tenure. And a U.S. Special Envoy has held his first meeting with Sudan's Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan to discuss efforts to end the war and address the dire humanitarian crisis crippling the country. The talks are described by Sudan's ruling Sovereignty Council as long, comprehensive, and frank, took place in the Red Sea city of Port Sudan. Now, discussions are focused on a roadmap to halt hostilities and ensure the delivery of critical aid to affected areas. The envoy's visit coincided with Russia's veto of a United Nations Security Council resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire of violence in Sudan. Now, the conflict, which began in April 2023 between the Sudanese army, led by Burhan, and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, headed by Mohamed Amdag Danglo, has claimed tens of thousands of lives and displaced over 11 million people. And now to Tanzania, where its Prime Minister, and that's Kashim Bajaliwa, has attended a memorial service for the victims of a deadly building collapse in Dar es Salaam, as rescue efforts continue to search for survivors beneath the rubble. Addressing mourners, the Prime Minister said President Samia Suluhu Hassan has ordered around-the-clock rescue operations to ensure no stone is left unturned in locating the remaining trapped individuals. The four-story building collapsed on Saturday at the bustling Kariakoo market. While the cause of the tragedy remains unclear, witnesses reported that construction work to expand the building's underground business space had begun just a day earlier.
Miili 15 mwili mmoja ulishachukuliwa. Ndugu wa Tanzania wenzangu, kutokana na athari hizi na kwa kuzingatia maelekezo ya mkuu wa nchi Mheshimiwa Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, rais wetu, serikali imeendelea kutekeleza maagizo hayo, lakini pia kuchukua hatua mbalimbali za kunusuru maisha ya wenzetu ambao bado zoezi la uokoaji linaendelea.
Aliki ni babu yangu, anaitwa Hilal Minja. Anafanya kazi pale Kariakoo, ana duka lake kwenye hiyo sehemu ambayo imepata matatizo. Hivyo tu, familia tumeumia sana na tunawapa pole na wenzetu wengine ambao wamekutwa na msiba huu.
Taarifa za kuondokewa na baba ilikuwa ni juzi. Basi tukawa tumefuata utaratibu, wazazi wakafuatilia hospitali kuangalia kuhakiki mwili, na kweli tukaja kugundua kwamba ni kweli baba yetu ametutoka. Lakini tupo hapa kwa ajili ya kufanya zile taratibu kuhakikisha, kwa sababu serikali inatimiza wajibu wake, ili tuweze kufanya taratibu zingine za kifamilia na kwenda kumstiri Moshi.
Mozambique, where the country's opposition party, Renamo, has called for the annulment of last month's contentious elections, heightening tensions that have already resulted in weeks of deadly protests. Renamo, formerly the country's largest opposition force, has joined Pontebo's party leader, and that's Venancio Mondlane, in rejecting the 9th October election results. Now, he claims the vote was fraudulent and has urged continued demonstrations. He has also demanded the formation of an interim caretaker government to oversee the country until new, free, fair, and transparent elections can be held. The National Election Authority announced that the ruling Frelimo party, which has been in power for nearly 5 decades, secured 71% of the votes. Now, Mondelene's Podemos' party garnered 20%, while Renamo lagged behind with just 6%. Renamo leader Osfo Mande has dismissed the results, alleging widespread electoral fraud. Tough times ahead. You're watching news now on News Central Television. Still ahead. Schools short across United Kingdom as snow brings chaos. We'll bring you the details after this break. Stay there. And welcome back. At least 74 schools have been forced to close today after the Met Office issued 3 yellow snow and ice warnings. The UK's National Weather Service warned of disruptive conditions across the West Midlands, Greater Manchester, North Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. Now, thousands of people have been affected by the return of sub-freezing temperatures, with several schools closing for the day. Now, some schools in Yorkshire were forced to close after heavy snowfall, while others in Oxfordshire shut due to electrical and water supply issues. Now, pupils in Berkshire, Herefordshire, and Northern Hampshire have also faced closures. Now, parents have been advised to check online to confirm whether their child's school have been impacted by the adverse weather conditions. Now, for more on this, I'm joined by international correspondent Afia Hagen. Afia, I want to say winter is here, or the winter is coming, but you already know where that reference is from. But what's the latest on the winter weather in the UK?
Well, Judith, winter is absolutely here. Look, we've been warned that this cold weather was coming since last week, and it's quite earlier on in the season to get temperatures this cold. Usually it's about 11, 12 degrees during the day. In London today it's 5 degrees, and the temperature is going down all day. So more than 200 schools across England and Wales have closed, 11 in Scotland as well. And we've had 3 new weather warnings have been issued just in the past hour for the east of England, for southeast Scotland, North and Central Wales, and for Northern Ireland. And that's for the cold to get colder. Now, like I said, it's unusual to have temperatures this cold for this time of the year. It's the coldest early winter since 1998, with snow and ice covering much of the country. Now, I am in London, quite far south in the United Kingdom, and it was unusual. We did have some snow flurries earlier on this morning for about 2 hours. It hasn't settled because the ground was already wet. But certainly in London, to have snow at this time of year is unusual. Fortunately, at the moment, the snow has held off for me to talk to you, but more snow is forecast for later on today and into this evening.
Afia, I wanted to ask if you wished for a white Christmas, because it looks like it might be a white Christmas for you. But how have communities up and down the country been impacted? I mean, schools are closing. I can only imagine.
Look, to your first question, myself and my daughter have been wishing for a white Christmas. And you're right, it looks like we may get it, but the communities up and down the country have been impacted. Like I say, multiple school closures. You had a bus that overturned in Aberdeen, which is in the north of Scotland, which was blocking the road. Luckily, no injuries have been reported there. Severe travel disruption with hundreds of trains up and down the country, particularly from the Midlands into London, and in the Midlands going north, have been cancelled as well. Like I said, those weather warnings are in place and are in place until this evening and into tomorrow. And communities up and down the country have been advised to check on vulnerable neighbours. So people who are perhaps a bit older, people who have young children as well, to check on them and see if they are okay, because this was a cold snap. Yes, it had been predicted, but actually it's come earlier than we thought it would this week. And it's been more severe than we thought it would be as well. So communities up and down the country have been advised to check on their vulnerable neighbours as well.
Well, would it last till Christmas? That's the question. I mean, you want a white Christmas. How long is this weather set to last? Till December 25th?
And that's the question on everybody's lips. Look, this cold snap is going to last for the next 3 days. The weather warnings, like I talked about, are in place from 6 o'clock this evening until 10 o'clock on Wednesday. So more snow showers are expected to develop this evening and overnight into Wednesday morning, with the north getting the worst snow, 1 to 2 centimetres, in places on the lower ground, 5 centimetres, on higher ground as well, and in the mountains, 5 to 10 centimetres. So travel disruption could be expected, more schools closed. Don't know what parents are going to do in that situation as well. Whether it will last until Christmas, the answer to that is no, because temperatures are expected to be back into the double figures by this weekend, and forecast with rain before it gets a bit colder, but not this cold next week. So it looks like actually we could be in for a long winter with lots of these snow forecasts to come. Whether it will be a white Christmas, I'm going to keep an eye on that one for you, Judith, and come back to you with the update.
Well, look, Afia, one thing is certain, climate change is here at our doorsteps and is knocking for us to let it in. Afia, many thanks for doing this with us. Afia, our international correspondent, just giving us an update on the snowfall there in London and Greater UK. We'll take a short break. When we come back on the other side, it's time for business news. In September 2024, foreign investment in Nigeria's Exchange Limited dropped to its lowest point of the year, totaling around 11.26 billion naira. Now, this decrease noted in the latest domestic and foreign portfolio investment report from the NGX indicates a broader trend of declining foreign investment as investors increasingly liquidated their assets. Now, during a discussion on Business Edge, Mohamedou Saidu, senior research analyst at Trust Bank Capital Management Limited, shared insights on the performance of domestic versus foreign transactions on the NGX from September 2023 to September 2024. That's year on year. Take a look.
September now, transactions have more than doubled. But these numbers can be inflated because we also have to consider the exchange rate as well. Because if you're looking at it in terms of naira terms, you might look at it, there's a lot more volatility in the Nigerian exchange. Because if you also have, when you consider exchange rates, people bringing in money at 700, 800 levels, comparing that to people bringing in money at 1,600, 700 levels, it's two different things. So somebody bringing in $10,000 at 700, 800 levels, and somebody bringing in $10,000 at the current levels now is two different ball games. So in terms of naira value, it looks like it is very much a big difference. But if you actually look closer at the data, you see that there's been an increase, but it's not as the data may make you see. It's hard to say because the Nigerian exchange is very unpredictable. Like we saw what happened in January, where for some reason domestic investors just came into the market and they were pouring into stocks like the bullish rally. The exchange even gained over 30% in just January. But ever since then, we've seen very bullish, like there's been like a talk of war. But in terms of predictions towards 2025, I don't bring it to September 2025. I don't think there's a big concern in terms of foreign investors. We always have foreign investors, but the domestic investors right now are what's driving the market, and I don't think there's any sort of concern for now.
The head coach of Nigeria Premier Basketball League champions, Rivers Hoppers, and that's Ogo Odaudu, has credited discipline as the key to his team's remarkable achievement of winning a 6th consecutive title. Speaking on News Central's sports show In the Game, Coach Odaudu emphasized that the team's success stems from finding the perfect balance between hard work and consistency, enabling them to finish with 12 wins in as many games. The Kings men secured their 2nd consecutive title and 6th in franchise history and will be Nigeria's representative in the 2025 Basketball Africa League.
A lot of discipline, and also preparation is a major factor in everything that you're doing concerning sport. You're not going to gather a team in 2 weeks and say you're going to beat everybody. We have had this team since last year when we won the title, when we went to Bar. So we have been constantly practicing. We've had the same group of players. We just had a little additions here and there in the areas that we lost personnel. But the thing is just the consistency. We have been together, we have fought a lot of battles, so everybody knows what is at stake.
Nigerian Women Football League champions, the Edo Queens, will aim to become the first Nigerian club to reach the final of the CAF Women's Champions League as they take on TP Mazembe in the first semi-final match on Tuesday today in Morocco. Edo's Queens reached the last four of the 8-team tournament on Saturday after dramatically sending defending champions Mamelodi Sundowns packing. They trailed the South Africans by a goal until the dying moments of the match when clutch player MM Essien scored the equalizer in added time. Mary Mamudu then scored a late goal to win the match 2-1. After scaling this group stage hurdles, coach Moses Atuku stressed the need to maintain their one game at a time approach ahead of today's crucial encounter.
It's to play, and the guys are playing. So far, so good. We're happy, but not satisfied yet in terms of there is something to win now, which is the trophy, not qualification again. So we are going to put in our best to see how we can cross this stage. Very good team. Not just them alone. Every team that came here is a good team, a champion.
Well, congratulations to the ladies. And that's all tonight, or rather that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. President Tinubu has sent 2025-2027 MTEF to National Assembly for approval. DSS has released former Ogun State governorship candidate Ladi Adebutu. And we also told you that Somaliland's Electoral Commission has declared opposition leader Abdullahi as winner. Now remember that you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422. We're also on Star Times at channel 274. You can also find us on Avo TV, or find us or take us wherever you go by streaming us live on YouTube. Tongue twister there. Many thanks for watching. I'm Judith at TV. Bye for now.